Well, afternoon, Ross. How are you?
Not too bad, Peter. Not too bad. Keeping as well as could be expected. Hope you're well yourself.
Yes, all good. Thanks. All good. Welcome to the NI Business Podcast, Ross. Thanks very much for taking the time to chat with me today. Could we start? Could you tell me a little about yourself, your business, and your background, please?
Yeah, well, certainly. Well, I'm Ross Harvey. I'm from Newton Ards originally, so I am born and bred, but without the web toes, as we would say. So basically, I'm a security consultant. I am an electrical engineer by trade. Found myself in the security industry at the ripe old age of 18. Basically by happenstance. I had trained and carried out an AVC or completed an AVC in electrical and electronic engineering through the college in Bangor. And as I say, if it wasn't for me working in restaurants at the time and my boss knowing his next door neighbor worked for Crane Communications a long time ago. So basically, yeah, that's how I ended up in the fire and security industry. I never have looked back because with the sort of customer focus that I have and the unique experience that I had even up to that young age, I've found my passion in life. And as my late father used to say, and he did say to me one day, 15, what are you going to do for a living? I haven't got a clue. He says, do you know what I'm going to tell you? Pick something you love in life and you'll never work a day in your life. And wherever he is today, I'm living by it.
Good stuff. And what about, so what was the spark that led you to launch Rockford?
Well, the spark is such that led me to go into Rockford. I've a very unique experience with several different organizations throughout my tenure in the fire and security industry as an installer or integrator. And I suppose my passion has always been because I never had a sort of easy inroads into the industry myself, was to actually help others. So it's always been the case. I've always done that throughout the course of having my integrators for years. But basically the sort of shortfall in the industry, and this goes for fire as much as security still to this day, is competency or the lack thereof.
Mm.
A lot of guys are really good engineers, and I'll never ever say anything bad about anybody. But certainly from a risk perspective or a risk assessment perspective, a lot of guys and girls out there don't actually, you know, do things the right way. So any proposals, mitigation strategies, or designs should always be off the back end of an efficient and effective risk assessment being carried out firstly, because that gives you the foundation stone in which you can then set about doing an appropriate gap analysis. And more importantly, then you get to identify what type of adversary that you are actually trying to mitigate against. So that could be what's actually happened in the company for the previous 5 or 10 years. Have they had any intrusions, both from an information security standpoint or alternatively from a physical security standpoint? And then obviously you know, once you bring all that information together, we do a risk matrix, and then that allows us to then prioritize the actual risks that that company or that person may be subject to. And then obviously it's then a case of knocking the heads together and using the 25 odd years of experience that I personally have in regards to putting together the best risk mitigation strategy for that particular individual or corporate entity.
And if you reflect back, Ross, and think of the of your experience as a business owner, what would you say has been your biggest lesson as a business owner?
Um, get upfront payments. No, I'm not um,
That is a good tip. Anyone listening, that is a good tip.
it is a good tip. It is a good tip. At the end of the day, yes, I'm in the field of protection. I protect people, their assets, their information, their intellectual property. But equally, the biggest issue that I have had is, cash flow. Cash flow's king, as somebody said to me a long time ago, and that really stuck with me. So yes, you can be the best at what you do, but you need to have cash flow to be an actual effective business, not only for the ability to grow, but even just the ability to function correctly. It comes into business continuity or organizational continuity, or comes under that. As I say, cash flow is king, and that rings it rings true to me to this very day. So make sure that you are obviously, no matter what industry you're in, you're after, whatever core sort of clientele you want, make sure that that is at the forefront of your mind in regards to if you're taking on a client, make sure even if you have a contractual piece of paper in play or in place to ensure that you are legally covered. Um, I can't say a truer word. Just protect yourself, even if you are in the line of protection. Make sure that you protect yourself as well as a business.
And what have you learned about yourself along the way?
I'm quite resilient. So I'm actually a stroke survivor. So I suffered meningitis at the age of 26. And as a direct result of that, I took a brainstem infarction. So that resulted in 14 months to learn how to walk again, and also 3.5 years, just close to, with the regional acquired brain injury unit, a bit of a mouthful, in Musgrave Park. So I'm very, very lucky to be here, but equally that set me off, set a fire underneath me as well. I shouldn't probably do half of what I do these days, but at the same time, look, I'm here for good time, not long time, and my legacy is helping others. So if I can spend whatever little time I have on this earth to do that, I know when that time comes, I can go out with a smile on my face.
Great story, great share, and look, well done for making through it. What about who's been your biggest influence along the way?
My father, my late father, he was referred to affectionately as Davy Deutsch, the builder. But I'll be honest and say he was always an inspiration to me. That wee man worked hard and sore 6 days a week. Went out to do his building work, and then he was a bit of a wheeler dealer as well. Fireplaces, scrap of stone, as I referred to him. He was the Yellow Pages before the Yellow Pages was even an inkling in the creator's eye. So he was a people person. He was very personable and he was loved by a lot of people. And as far as I'm concerned, if I can be half of what he was, I'm living up to well, filling. The man didn't have big shoes, but let's say I'm trying to fill big shoes. So
Or metaphorically big shoes, not maybe
metaphorically
not
big shoes,
literally.
God love my.
Very good. And look, well, even now, after all the years of experience, what gets you out of bed in the morning and fires your passion for business?
Do you know, I said to somebody recently, it's a simple case of if I could get paid in good compliments. In other words, if I could have my bills paid but have positive feedback, I would quite happily live off that. Unfortunately, the real world does not allow us to do that. But as I say, I've helped a lot of people, especially the last 3 years. I also lecture for two organizations, actually a third organization for a short period of time. And part and parcel of that harps back to when I was entering the industry. It was not easy to get into the industry, especially there was no specialized courses as such like there is the last sort of 8 to 10 years. So it was very generic. You're either an electrician or you're an electrical engineer. And as I say, it was very, very difficult to get in. So over the last 25 years, I have tried to incentivize and try to support people entering the industry via apprenticeship schemes coming into my own integrator, which I'm still involved in. And then more importantly, as I say, over the last few years, I've sort of promoted the message of competency, upskilling, and CPD, which is essential. It's a criticality no matter what industry you're in, but certainly in security, I can't stress that enough because legislation changes, products especially change, and the way that we've done things in regards to the convergence of, actual normal sort of generic old school security and IT infrastructure. That's more prevalent over the last decade, and it will continue to be a point of prevalence over the next decade as well.
And what would be your are there any books that have influenced you, or are there any podcasts you listen to, and anything you'd like to share?
I wished I had more time to read. I read plenty of reports and I read plenty of courses and I test courses for people. But the thing that comes to mind is autobiographies. The likes of, well, Billy Connolly, it comes to mind. Great well, great artist, I would say. Gordon Ramsay, a great businessman, and again, his life story coming up through football, being a Glaswegian. I think there's a bit of a sorry, I'm trying to think of the word there. Um, line there between those two because they're
Yeah,
region.
yeah.
But yeah, Gordon Ramsay, Alan Sugar, those types of autobiographies where there's been challenges. It is business orientated, but at the end of the day, again, they're human beings. At the end of the
Mm.
day, they've had other personal issues going on in the background. But as I say, autobiographies would be probably my go-to in regards to that. I probably wish I would have a bit more time to listen to podcasts, etc. And I have had a few that's been recommended to me over recent months. So hopefully, fingers crossed, at some point I actually get a chance to do that. I'm too busy working all the time.
There's a lot out there. There's a lot out there.
There's a lot to choose from, certainly.
And what's the biggest challenge that you're currently facing in your business?
Well, challenge wise, I would say is we're in the middle of creating an academy. Well, we launched the academy in February last year. So time management personally for me is a challenge at the best of times. I wear several different hats between being of a director on different boards. Being involved in at least three businesses, and then obviously the teaching or the lecturing positions as well. So I am relatively pulled from pillar to post to the point that people sort of turn around and go, how exactly do you do what you do? And again, harping back to what my father said, I love what I do. As far as I'm concerned, if you're dedicated, that leads to motivation. And I've said that to many students over the past year as well. If you're dedicated, you'll be motivated in what you do. If you're not motivated, well, maybe it's time to have a wee look and see if are you in the right line of work. But I I thoroughly take satisfaction out of not only helping people make themselves better, improving themselves, improving their own sort of stance within the industry or position within the industry, or even entering the industry if they're coming from somewhere else. But certainly personal improvement is key for me as well. So hence why I'm always learning, always looking at what's coming up next, as opposed to just trying to firefight what's happening at the moment. So time management's a big thing for me, but in the business, we are looking at developing the academy more, because again, that is, you know, it's my passion is to upskill as many people as I can and to get the message out there that just because you've done a course and you've been an engineer for 20 years doesn't mean that you can become complacent. You know, it's such an ever evolving curve, is this line of work. And as I say, CPD is a criticality of that.
And if you let's go off piste slightly. So if you could invite any three people to a dinner party, who's coming?
Oh no, you're trying to catch me off guard there. Okay, so well, again, I am very interested in personal stories, and obviously from a business perspective as well. So off the top of my head, Elon Musk would definitely be a must for me. Steve Jobs, I would love to pick his brains as well in regards to, just how he went about doing what he did, and more importantly, the legacy that that man has left, and particularly Elon Musk even will leave when that time arrives, is quite phenomenal. And for some reason, I have Henry Ford in my head. I think Henry Ford comes into it because I had watched something there recently, and I'm a car wallets or watch sort of guy, so I am. But to do what he did to revolutionize the manufacturing of vehicles to a mass market, nobody else had done it before.
Mm.
It wasn't like somebody had taken, oh, I'm going to take that and sharpen that into something better. Because let's face it, there's not many things on this planet today that you can make better. There's the ideas are there. It's just a repackaged format of something that has perhaps went before. But certainly with Henry Ford, you know, kudos to him. He took something and he delivered to the mass market and created, well, in essence, the format that VW, Mercedes, everyone uses to this very day. So hats off.
Be interested to hear what he would think of whenever Elon Musk told him about the electric cars.
It'd be
I would take a
interesting. It'd
bit of
be interesting
excitement.
to have a conversation because he probably wouldn't understand half a thing I said. But no, that again, Elon, hats off to him. You know, starting off with PayPal all those years ago, again, revolutionizing the online payment portals
Mm.
and the way things were done, and moving forward to SpaceX and Tesla, etc. as well. And in fact, if I was allowed a fourth, I would maybe have Nikolai Tesla because that's a brain I would love to pick.
Right, very good. And what about if you could go back in time, Ross, and give some advice to your 18-year-old self, what would that sound like?
Well, do you know something? The first thing comes to mind. I have a 19-year-old son and a 15-year-old son. And the 19-year-old has ventured in. He went and done plumbing for a year and a half, 2 years nearly. Just he loves hands-on. He loves to be challenged. But like his old man. But certainly. I am now advising him because I would mentor on the side as well, and I have been very fortunate to mentor several professionals over the last sort of 2 to 4 year period. But certainly over the last sort of 2 years, it's been more prevalent that or more of a thing that I've done with many folk on a worldwide basis, which is even more gratifying. But my own son has ventured into the industry last September. And again, I've been giving him the advice, I suppose, is what you've just asked me there. The 18-year-old in me, what would I do 20 years ago? Well, he is doing what I have now done 20 years post. So e.g., the networking, the learning, again, harping back to dad here, it's not what you know, son, it's who you know.
Mm.
And again, there's never been a truer word said. You could be the best engineer in the world, but if nobody knows about you, you're not going very far.
Mm.
So he is 19 years old. He's got two sets of post-nominals after his name. He started off with myself in the integrator, and he's actually moved on to another company, which is great to see because, again, he doesn't want to live within or under my shadow, and I fully commend him for it. But he has been my really the mentorship that I've really wanted to give is don't get me wrong, everyone's on the same playing field, but to be able to mentor my son and see him do so well in such a short period of time, it just puts such a smile on my face. It's a heartwarming situation for me, and I'm really happy to see where he has been going, and more importantly, I can't wait to see the rest of the journey, over the coming years because he's.
So is this the advice you would give your 18-year-old self?
Yes, the advice I would give is work hard, put your head down, make sure you do the best possible job you can by everyone that adorns your service, and just continue to learn. Do not stagnate. And especially in this industry, it is an ever-evolving industry, ever-evolving technology. The threats, to an individual or corporate entity 10 years ago is not the same today. And
Mm.
again, harping back 20 years ago, cash in transit was the go-to. Gold, tangible assets. Today, it's information. Information is the cash cow. And as I say, that's going to continue morphing over the next sort of 5 to 10 year period and continue. So again, every day is a school day. Again, that's another wee saying from dad. But if you don't get up in the morning and you don't learn something from the time you open your eyes to the time you close your eyes at nighttime, you're walking about with blinkers on, boy.
Mm. And
So
what about let's look for instead of looking back, look forward. What does your business look like in 5 years' time?
well, I would like to say we'll take over the world. We are very niche industry or niche service. As I say, thinking about it, a lot of people, and I've used this with others in the last few years. Somebody had said, especially being from Northern Ireland or Ireland in general, oh, you'll clear up over there. There's no consultants over there. There's a reason for that. We're very much so, and it's still the same across Europe and across the UK as well, that people or organizations will go to integrators, fire and security providers, and get their two pence piece from maybe five or six of them. But consultants, we are very unique and with a very unique set of skills. I sound like a certain Northern Northern Irish actor there in a certain film. Um, but don't worry, I won't pursue that. But yeah, as I say, it is very, very unique. And I do see the business growing. Of course, that's the projection. It's another thing whether it lives up to the projected values, etc., of the next 5 years. But certainly the academy side of things, I actually see that maybe being a more beneficial and more successful side or wing to the organization. Um, than even the consultancy side, purely and simply because we have courses there that are open to everybody. The whole core fundamental or the whole sort of initial idea was, yes, we have clientele that could benefit, their C-suite could benefit from learning about open source intelligence, learning about phishing attacks, learning about two-factor authentication, the fundamental cybersecurity aspects. But as well as that, actual their own physical security. So they still have to travel between their place of work and their home. So again, the courses there are all designed and supplied with not only our end users in mind, but also other security professionals in mind. So, you could be an integrator, you could be a CCTV room operator and want to learn more about open source intelligence, cybersecurity, even for instance, you know, CMI leadership and management. Level 3, level 5 project management, for instance. So there's a plethora of courses that are already available, and we're working in the scenes or behind the scenes on producing and offering a lot more over the next 12 months and beyond. But as I say, we start off with a small selection of providers that I have had the privilege of working with. In the past number of years, such as the Chartered Managers Institute, etc., and a list of other ex sort of service men and women that has created courses from their many years of experience. So as I say, there's a plethora available, and there's going to be an even larger plethora available over the coming years. But it's really they're aimed at everybody. There's something really there for everyone.
And if someone wants to reach out or get in touch with you or the business, what's the best way for them to go about that?
Yeah, well, certainly LinkedIn. Search my Ross Harvey on LinkedIn. Feel free to message me at any time. And again, even if you go on and just search Rockford Security Consultants, we have a base here in Northern Ireland, up in Belfast, and we are London centric as well. But we have guys and girls from Ontario and Canada right across to here in Ireland. So again, there's not any sort of parts of the world that we won't cover. And again, over the last sort of couple of years, we've organically grown. We haven't went out of our way and done the whole salesy, BDM sort of thing. As I say, I've been very lucky to have a lot of exposure over the last couple of years personally, with doing conferences from Cyprus, Spain, Italy, right across Europe. And I've I had the opportunity to meet a lot of really great people throughout that process. But as I say, go online, search Rockford or Ross Harvey, and you will find our details somewhere.
Good man. Well, look, Ross Harvey from Rockford Security Consultants, thank you so much for sharing your story and numerous stories today. It's been great, great, great to chat with you. And look, I wish you all the success for the rest of this year and beyond. Ross, thanks very much indeed.
Peter, thank you very much for your time and the opportunity.